Welcome, everyone.
And we are live.
Welcome.
Except we're recorded.
We are. Are we recording now? We're recording.
We are pre-recorded.
We are pre-recorded live. All right, everybody.
Yes.
Well, welcome, friends.
What a great start.
This is
Hey, you're on the air with Mike and Ethan with special presentation, or Alf will not be seen tonight.
And boy, do we have a special presentation for you tonight.
Very special. 3 times as special as last time.
And Ethan, what are we talking about? Yes, what are we talking about tonight?
What we're talking about tonight is a series. Yes, we are going. This is the first time that our show has talked about. I just activated Siri on my phone by saying that, and it told me where to watch Alita: Battle Angel. Okay, we're watching not just 1, but 3 episodes of an attempted series based on a comic strip. One that I certainly did not grow up with. Did you, Mike?
I actually do remember it because it was in the Washington Post when I was a kid. I never really, but I remember absolutely nothing about it other than the big heads.
Yes. The show we're talking about is Miss Peach of the Kelly School, which was in fact based on the comic strip Miss Peach, parentheses, of the Kelly School, end parentheses.
Right.
Which later, and during our lifetime, it actually became Ms. Peach as a little nod to topicality.
Yeah, well, it's good. You got to change with the times, or else you'll be left behind. Miss Peach, or Ms. Peach, is the brainchild of Mel Lazarus, the cartoonist that I most remember from being a punchline on The Simpsons.
That's right. They mentioned him being a member of Mensa.
Yeah, and top of his field. Well, maybe not. Maybe not Mel Lazarus. Yeah, but so Mel Lazarus created not 1 but 2 comics. We've mentioned one of them in previous episodes, and that was Mama. And
Yes.
Mama.
We talked about Mama, didn't we? So we don't have to go into how crazy it was that they did the whole funeral thing.
Yeah, we went into detail on Mama in our premiere episode where we talked about Marvin Baby of the Year. And if there is a Mama special, we'll probably talk more about her at some point. But
Mama, Mother of the Year.
Yeah, for some reason or other, though, they decided to make Miss Peach into a series, and it's not an animated series. This is actually a puppet series, which I thought was interesting.
Yes. The puppets are very much of their time. It was made in the late 70s, and you have a lot of the actual Muppeteers working on this show, but it is not a Muppet production. You can tell they were inspired by the Muppets, though.
Yeah, I was wondering about that, because I noticed as I was watching it, the puppets felt very Muppet-esque in just their movements, and the style of humor felt very of the Muppets as well. But I didn't see any names that I recognized in the credits from Jim Henson's work. So, but Ethan,
I did. I recognized the name Erin Osker. She was one of the original Muppeteers on the Muppet Show, and she was one of the first performers of Janice.
Oh, really?
And she was their first regular female puppeteer, I think. Well, no, not quite, because Jane Henson was the first regular female puppeteer. But, but who was working on the Muppet Show at least. And actually, I'm looking at the puppeteer cast, and you have a lot of basically, the thing about puppetry is that, at least at this time, it was very incestuous. Everyone worked together on everything. There weren't that many professional puppeteers.
Gee, I wonder why.
But yeah, let's see. Let me look at let's see. Right now we have the puppeteers on this are listed as Olga Felkemacher, who was, among other things, the creator of the puppets on Shining Time Station.
Oh.
Not Thomas himself, but the jukebox band that was on it.
Oh, wow, I totally forgot about them.
Not only that, she was also the creator of the marionette puppets that appeared on Nickelodeon's Pinwheel.
Oh, wait, the marionette puppets. I don't remember that at all.
Yes, there were a few marionettes. There were a couple of bugs that were the hobo bugs.
Oh.
And I think there was the the bird that the one birdwatcher guy was always trying to get a good look at.
Did Pinwheel have was it Baron von Schnitzerdoodle or something?
Yeah, I know the one you mean. The guy who was basically Oscar the Grouch, but not quite.
Yeah. I vaguely remember this guy, and it's the only thing I remember about Pinwheel. But I wasn't sure if it's actually Pinwheel or possibly Eureka's Castle or one of those other shows.
I was super into Pinwheel as a kid. There was him, and there was a mime named Coco, and then there was a couple of.
I do remember.
There were a couple of Ernie and Bert-esque characters called Plus and Minus.
Oh yeah, my wife talks about them sometimes. She remembers that.
And they were always doing Gotcha Last.
So wait a second. Well, Ethan, were you into Pinwheel because I know you're the big Muppets fan.
Absolutely, but I don't think I wasn't quite. I think that was more like that was my gateway into being a Muppets fan, because I saw all these kind of subpar puppets and I got into the really good ones. Oh, but the name we should really be mentioning in context with Miss Peach is Danny Seagren, who was a puppeteer both with the Muppet Show Muppets and with Sesame Street, and he was on the Electric Company in the live-action role of Spider-Man.
Oh, I would not have expected that, but I guess it makes sense that if you are a puppeteer, you're probably be good at that sort of mime work too.
Not only that, and yeah, Danny Seagren was the creator of all the puppets for Miss Peach. So
wow, okay, so yes. He's actually had a distinguished career amongst puppet things.
Yes, it's very interesting when you dive into the weird and twisted world of puppetry. That there was this explosion of puppetry around the time of the Muppets, and who can blame them? Everyone wants a piece of that sweet pie.
That's true. Well, the Muppets were a huge thing in their day. I mean, they're still huge, I would argue, even if they're not.
They're not what they used to be, but I mean,
they're still they still have a cultural footprint that is very much remembered. But the thing is, I remember when I was a kid, if this in the days when there were like 3 channels on TV and most of us didn't have VCRs, other than Saturday morning cartoons, it's like there's nothing for you to watch. But then there's the Muppet Show. It's the one thing at night that you can watch as a kid.
It was the Simpsons of the early 80s.
It really was. I remember watching it and I didn't understand a lot of it, but I just liked that there were puppets involved. And, it's funny because as an adult, I look back on the Muppet Show and I'm like, these jokes actually weren't nearly as sophisticated as I thought when I was a child. They're not like super adult jokes or anything. They're pretty family friendly, I think, mostly.
It was family friendly, but not to the point where the adults of the family would be turned off by how childlike it was.
I mean, there's some good wit in that show. I always remember the one joke where they had, I think it was Beverly Sills was the guest star on that episode, and they had a bunch of animals talking about animal operas, like Madame Buttermilk and... And then what was it? And Robin comes in and says, "Oh, there's an opera for little frogs." And Kermit's like, "What is it?" And Robin's like, "Lohengrin." And my grandmother, who was a huge Wagner fan, thought that was the most hilarious thing in the entire world. And I didn't get it till I was an adult, and I was like, "Oh, okay, that's an opera and low and green. Okay, I get it." But yeah, so there's some pretty good stuff in it, and and I think this series, Miss Peach of the Kelly School, which I did not really expect to enjoy very much, it kind of skirts that same sort of line that the Muppets do, where it's family friendly and it's kind of for kids, but it's kind of for adults too. It kind of feels very much all ages.
I would say that Miss Peach overall is more dated than the Muppet Show is today.
That's true. I mean, you look at it and it is definitely, like you said, it's a product of its time, even if you ignore the rather dated 70s references to Bo Derek and Farrah Fawcett now.
Anyway.
But
let's talk about the actual property of Miss Peach. Did you get to look at some of the Miss Peach strips?
I pulled up a couple, but I read them and they immediately sloughed off my brain. I do not remember a single thing.
The comic is very unimpressive, and it's really weird that it was ever popular enough to get even one pilot, let alone 5 pilots.
Yeah, it is weird to think that I usually think of the 80s as being the real heyday of newspaper comic strips. But we do also have to remember, like, comics were in the paper before that, and you have these in the 70s was a weird time for comics. It's all BC and Miss Peach apparently.
Yeah.
And Miss Peach as a comic strip, it's about a woman who's a teacher, Miss Peach. And
ostensibly about the woman, because apparently she didn't appear for months and months on end at times.
I do remember when I was a kid reading the comic that I never knew who Miss Peach was because it was all children. So I assumed that one of those kids was just named Miss Peach, or or it was like a nonsense title, kind of like how
like Tom the Dancing Bug.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I was about to say like Herman, but I recently realized Herman actually is a character in the comic strip and the comic Herman.
Is he really?
Yeah. I always assumed Herman was about random people, like kind of like the Far Side. But then someone told me, no, those people that guy in the comic every week is Herman. You just the art isn't distinctive enough to make it look like the same guy. So and he never and he never says his name or anything. So
Herman should have had its own puppet show like Miss Peach, because all the characters in Herman look like the Sesame Street Martians. Yep.
I was, as soon as you said that Herman should have its own puppet show, that's immediately what I thought of. I was really hoping you weren't going to say it so that I could say it.
Oh, sorry.
No, but you're right. They all look like that. They all have the giant, weird, like, mouths and just, like, no eyes. And I don't know. It's strange. But, but apparently, Miss Peach was popular enough that it's a comic about a teacher and her class of big-headed children. And
extremely big-headed children. All these children could fit their own bodies in their mouths.
Yeah. I mean, the heads it's one of those things where the heads, I think, just keep getting bigger. And towards the end of the strip's run, I remember not the end of the run, sorry, the middle of the strip's run back in the 80s, the children's heads were already they were literally just heads walking around. I don't think they had bodies at all. They looked like Easter Island statues.
Yeah, there's a little bit of, again, that Charles Crumb feeling where you just flip through it and the heads get bigger and bigger and the bodies get smaller and smaller.
Yeah, but I guess that's how you know it's a child when you draw a comic. The head's got to be big. But there are a bunch of children, different children in the comic. As when I read the comic, I could never tell them apart. But doing some modern research, it appears there are distinct children in it. The main one seems to be Arthur Stim, who is the dumb one, so he's funny.
Arthur Stim? Do you think that's an autism joke?
Oh my gosh, that's kind of... No, this strip came out in the 70s. I don't think...
Oh, his name is Arthur Strim.
Oh, sorry, my bad.
Okay.
Sorry.
That would be way ahead of its time.
Honestly, every time I heard his name, I just kept thinking of Eastim. So, which is, not much better if you're doing a family-friendly strip and you're like, I'm going to reference, that. Maybe not a good idea. So sorry, Strim.
You're going to have to explain it to me. What? Eastim?
Yeah, Eastim. It's where you...
Can we talk about it?
Hey, Moody! What's Eastim? Oh, wait, is that where you shock your dick, right? Okay, it's where you use electricity to shock your dick. Okay, I thought that's what it was, but I wasn't sure if that might be sounding, so I wanted to check with the experts. So. Oh, sorry. Oh, what? Oh, it stands for electrical stimulation. Okay, so.
I gathered.
Oh, sorry. What? Okay, got it. Thank you. Love you. Okay, so it stands for electrical stimulation. Now,
thank you, Moody, Mike's wife.
now we know.
Yes.
But anyway, so
anyway,
that is completely unrelated to the comic strip, but just for the viewers at home, or to know.
But anything that's completely unrelated to this comic strip is, by definition, more interesting than this comic strip.
That is true. So, because we've got Arthur, who's kind of the dumb kid. There's Ira, Ira is kind of the main kid, I guess.
He's ostensibly the main kid, but he's the least interesting one.
Yeah. And then
kind of like Stan from South Park, you know?
Yeah, exactly.
Or like Mickey Mouse for that matter. He just kind of voices whatever he's like, hey guys, what do you think about blah, blah, blah? And then they bounce off of everyone else who actually have personalities.
Yeah. He's the main character who has no discerning, traits, so that the audience can feel they can feel like that's me. That's the relatable character. He's a blank slate on which to project my goals and aspirations.
Tag yourself. I'm Desdemona.
Desdemona, I think, is one of the more interesting characters because she is kind of, I guess she's basically
she's supposed to be the heartthrob of this elementary school classroom.
So she's the sexiest third grader, I guess, or whatever they're supposed to be.
And she's always talking in this breathy voice. Like, oh.
Yeah, except the thing is, since it's drawn by Mel Lazarus, it's like, oh, she's exactly the same giant-headed, like, weird flounder baby as all the other children. Yes. Just her hair is different, so she's...
Yes, frequently their noses are higher than their eyes.
Yeah, it looks like they really do remind me... Over the years, Mel Lazarus's comic... style has become more and more stylized. So at first they look like regular children, but then slowly their eyes migrate like those deep sea fish that eventually they kind of go on both eyes on the same side. And their noses keep going higher. And yeah, they look like troll dolls without hair or something. They're weird, but
I don't know. They look like two-dimensional creatures that are supposed to interlock like jigsaw puzzles.
Oh my god. They're basically they're Escher designs. But yeah, they are and they basically, these children kind of tell gag-a-day jokes, don't really
not gag-a-day to the point of stepping on a rock that gives you a definition. But
yeah, to their credit, I didn't see anything quite that by rote.
Quite that lazy, no.
Yeah. But again,
it doesn't look photocopied to me. I appreciate that.
Yeah. Well, Mel Lazarus is a consummate professional who, came of age way back in the days before that photocopier technology, which is funny because just the other day I was having this discussion with a work colleague of mine, and I got into this long philosophical tangent about how, comic strips are these things that they've been in the paper forever, and a lot of the comics that I see in the paper now are the exact same ones that I saw when I was growing up. And it's weird because we live in a world that was so rapidly changing constantly, to see that comic strips are this one thing that's like a bug preserved in amber. And I mentioned
you're really right.
Yeah, it's so strange. And I mentioned this to her, and she's like, well, that's because they have new technology, like copy machines. They can just keep making it, and that's why they keep going. And I was like, I don't think you're grokking kind of what I'm saying here. I'm not talking about the fact that...
Go to bed, old man.
It's like, what? I was like, yeah, I know they have copy machines. That's not the point. But anyway, so that's Miss Peach. I don't know. Is there much...
That's really funny. That's just a really good example of...
I was like, this...
Look, there went the point.
I was like, this normie just doesn't get it. God. It's like, some people. But otherwise...
Anyway.
Other than that, I did like a little bit of looking into Mel Lazarus. Just basically I read his Wikipedia page, which mentions that Miss Peach ran for about 50 years. Which is amazing in that Miss Peach, I would say, has literally no cultural footprint.
Yeah.
I don't think anyone other than, nerds like us remember Miss Peach. So, and even our memories are like pretty
civil-like, yes.
Yeah. So after 50 years, Mel Lazarus retired due to health reasons. Other than that, Mel Lazarus also served as president of the National Cartoonist Society for 2 consecutive terms. So that's cool. And made a cameo appearance in Murder, She Wrote. Which is...
Murder, She Wrote?
Yeah, the episode The Dead File.
Oh.
Which I don't know. Do you recognize that? Is that...
No, I don't.
Okay. Mel Lazarus also wrote 2 books called The Boss is Crazy 2 and The Neighborhood
Is it the
Watch.
sequel to The Boss is Crazy?
No, actually, it just says The Boss is Crazy TOO. So as in, apparently there's another person besides the boss who is crazy, but this book isn't about that other person. It's about the boss.
Okay. Okay. I was wondering if it was like Gallagher 2, where he was...
There's a second Gallagher?
Oh, you don't know about this? Yeah, what happened was Gallagher's brother started touring as Gallagher TOO2 using his brother's old props, and the original Gallagher cut him off from it because he didn't want people mistaking his brother for the real Gallagher, and he got pretty much disowned from the family for that.
Oh my god! So. Well, I hope it was
worth being it. Gallagher.
I hope it was worth it, Gallagher too. Oh my god! Can you imagine like just ostracized from the Gallagher family?
You don't get to wear the muscle suit or the join of the family melon crazy moments.
They're just like a mafia thing where like Gallagher comes up and just gives him the kiss of death, and then like they all turn their backs and they knock him out with the sledge-o-matic, and that's God, wow. Well, that's a thing.
Yeah.
No, apparently
Miss Peach.
Miss Peach, ladies and gentlemen. No, apparently
we have a hard time talking about Miss Peach. There's just nothing to it.
Well, yeah, that's true. I'm going to say one other thing about Mel Lazarus and Miss Peach before I think we can actually talk about the series.
Yeah.
Oh no, maybe I should say 2 things, because apparently Mel Lazarus's dad was a glassblower.
Oh, neat.
Which is cool. That has nothing to do with anything, but I thought it was interesting.
I wonder if you could blow glass in the shapes of the Miss Peach characters.
That'd be pretty good. That'd be pretty impressive if you could. Better than like, well, actually, no, it wouldn't, because literally you just blow like one of those bubbles and that's it.
Yeah.
And it's like a round thing. It's a kid's head. There you go. Mel Lazarus made a lot of different comics, because apparently he also created 2 syndicated comic strips for General Features, Wee Women and Little Ones.
Huh.
So
never heard of either one of them.
Yeah,
Little Ones sounds like a predecessor to Peanuts, or probably is a predecessor to Miss Peach.
Yeah, Mel Lazarus seems to be one of those people who is like really good at just creating things that just immediately you forget, just to have no resonance with anyone.
Well, what you said about cultural footprint, it makes me think about how one of the biggest cultural phenomenons through the 50s, 60s was Little Abner.
Oh yeah.
And we don't really remember anything about it. Its time has completely passed, except for once in a while you'll still hear someone talk about our school will be having a Sadie Hawkins Day dance, and that's a Little Abner reference right there.
That's pretty much it, other than possibly I understand that the Shmoo originated in Little Abner. But the Shmoo was a thing that I remember as a kid, as when the Flintstones, became cops. They had the Shmoo helping
and they teamed up with the Shmoo. Yes,
which, I mean, that raises questions on a number of fronts, because I was explaining to my wife, it's like, Fred and Barney, they became cops and they teamed up with a shape changing, blob, and they fought crime
And that's not even what the Shmoo does. He lays birthday cakes and provides endless sustenance.
Yeah.
He doesn't really shapeshift.
I feel like they took some liberties with the Shmoo canon when they... Yeah. That is Hanna-Barbera for you.
Fred and Barney Meet the Shmoo was the sequel to Fred and Barney Meet the Thing, so...
When they met the Thing, was it The Thing?
The Marvel's The Thing. Oh, as in Ben Grimm.
Okay, that's better.
In this case, was able to slam his rings together and chant, "Thing rings, do your thing!" And orange boulders would fly over and cover him and turn him into the Thing temporarily.
Well, first of all, I'm just going to say, when you said they met the Thing, I thought you meant they met John Carpenter's The Thing. And so I was...
If only!
I was just imagining, Fred and Barney in, the Antarctica, electrocuting their blood to see who's actually a Shmoo. Which is, someone should do that. That is great, actually, now I think about it. That's perfect. You just have... Okay, we're going to have to patent this.
And then Barney turns out to be the Shmoo, and he goes, "Barney!"
He's like, they're in their research station, like, someone ate all my pebbles. Then starring
I love doing this podcast. Did I mention?
Oh my god! I was gonna make a very funny reference saying you could have the Quaker Oats guy playing Dino in this, but
Wilford Brimley.
Yeah. Oh no! This was obviously it starts out. Dino is running across the Antarctic, and like a Norwegian in a stone helicopter is chasing him and just shooting at him. So yeah, and then it all fits together. Perfect. This is how they should have done that gritty reboot of the Flintstones.
Yes.
Oh. Okay, so anyway, we were talking of Miss Peach. Who is
Miss Peach.
Oh no! One last thing I did want to say about
one more thing
before that
yes.
about Miss Mel Lazarus. I'm going to say something mean about Miss Mel Lazarus. Okay.
Do it.
Because I was reading Mel Lazarus's Wikipedia page, and it mentioned that Mel Lazarus won a Reuben Award for Outstanding Cartoonist in 1981, and I read that and I thought, like, yeah, they'll just give that to anyone, won't they? It's really like, when you think about it, it's like the Reuben Award. It's like, what, they're like 20 syndicated cartoonists. They got to cycle through them all. So what's the point? Just saying. I'm sure that, like, I can say it. It's not like I'm going to hurt my chances to get a Reuben.
No. Which is not to say that you shouldn't, try out for a weekly strip, because you can do that until you're old and gray.
Well, yeah, I'm going to be the next Tom Tomorrow. I'm going to make a comic where I entirely made out of clip art where I just tell you, here's the news that happened today. Oh, that Drumpf, what's he up to now?
Oh God.
Yeah, but anyway, so that's all I'm going to say about Mel Lazarus. I shouldn't speak ill of the dead, but any more than that. But anyway, Mel Lazarus was apparently, and his work on Miss Peach was popular enough that they made a puppet show of 5 episodes.
Yes.
I watched 3.
Yeah, we watched 3 of them. Well,
Could you not make it through all 3?
Yeah, we haven't watched the other 2 yet. We will. We might bring them back to you later, but probably not soon because it was a little rough.
Yeah,
that's a lot to watch for one podcast.
Yeah, well,
this will probably be an extra long episode, but there isn't that much to say about the individual episodes.
Yeah,
so
well, we'll see if people are clamoring for more Miss Peach. If like people listen to this and afterwards they're just jonesing for it. They're like, I gotta get more of that Peach. But anyway,
okay.
Yes.
I've got some general thoughts about Miss Peach to share.
Let's hear
them. Now, did you ever read the Calvin and Hobbes collections? I mean, I'm sure you've got them on your bookshelves and everything, but you ever read the introductions to them where they talk about, how, I think it was Pat Oliphant, who we mocked in a previous venture, who talked about how Calvin is so refreshingly realistic compared to other children on the comics page.
I remember that because he specifically drags the Cosby Kids.
Yes, he said there were no mealy mouths or namby-pambies in the strip.
Yeah.
Calvin is delightfully and dedicatedly rotten.
Yes, I do remember that.
Kind of thing that sticks with you when you're a kid. Now, Miss Peach is exactly what he was talking about. It is filled with mealy mouths and namby-pambies.
Yes,
These are not children, these are little adults given child form, and it really feels like the whole strip and by extension the whole puppet series is made in bad faith in a way.
Yeah,
they know that kids aren't like this, but you know what, we got a puppet show to make, so who cares?
That's true. There's a lot of the way the kids talk, they all sound like kind of like Borscht Belt comedians.
Yes. It sounds like Fozzie Bear wrote this.
Yeah. There's a lot of the jokes they tell are just very like an adult will say something and then a kid kind of delivers the punchline and everyone's like, oh. No, like adult will say like I love, what is it? I can't even think of an example from the show. I think it's like, oh yeah, no, I remember.
Quit reaching across the table. Don't you have a tongue?
Oh yeah, stuff like that. Oh wait, I got it. The one where the principal is saying something, and the kid is like, "I don't mind coming to school, but it's the principle of the thing."
Oh god, I'd go die now.
Yeah, so there's a lot of that sort of thing in this. The kids, so it's the same kids mostly. We got like Ira, who's the main kid, and
I don't know if there's any original kids. I didn't really pay enough attention to the strip to tell if anyone was missing from the strip or new that wasn't in the strip.
If Wikipedia actually is listing all the children from the strip, which it may or may not be, the one child that is not listed as being in the strip is Farley Synecdoche, who is kind of I guess he's the class bully, because he seems to be the one that, like, he's got a funny voice where he's like,
it mentions Farley. He's the second to last one listed on the strip page.
Oh, is he? Okay, then I guess
it mentions Marcia, Ira, Arthur. Those are like our three main characters. Mm-hmm. Francine, Freddie, Lester, Linda, Walter, Stuart, Sheila, Farley, and Desdemona.
Oh, apparently apparently Miss Peach is so incredibly boring that I couldn't actually read to the end of that sentence before glazing over, and I completely missed it. So in that case, yeah, it seems like all the kids are actually in the puppet show. And true to form, they all are basically the same puppet, just with different hair.
I was going to say the puppets aren't bad. They're nicely designed puppets, but they don't really represent the art style of the strip at all, do they?
No, they don't look like the strip. They just kind of have that. Yeah, they just look like puppets, you know.
Yeah. And that's not a bad thing. I mean, it's not like I was like, "Oh, you're so betraying the spirit of Miss Peach."
Yeah. But I mean, maybe that's why the series didn't go very well. Like, there were a lot of Miss Peach diehard fans. Just like Miss Peach purists watch the show and they're like, no, those are not. That is not Miss Peach.
We call for the death of Rian Johnson.
The Miss Peach purists are like, I never watched dubbed Miss Peach, only subbed.
Okay. Oh, but there's also one character we need to set apart is Miss Peach herself, who is played by a real live woman.
Yeah, that was, it's interesting. It kind of fits, it makes sense.
Yeah.
Because she's kind
of... It lends even more to the Muppet Show-esque flavor.
Yeah, exactly. One thing I did that kind of struck me is that one of the Ira and Marcia, I guess is her name, those two characters.
Yeah, the two have a very... Maybe you're going to say the same thing that I did, that they have a very Kermit and Piggy relationship, don't they?
Exactly. I mean, they are... the same thing where, like, Ira's kind of, he's got more personality in the show than he does in the strip. He's kind of
that's for sure. Yes,
he's kind of the he's kind of a pushover, that sort of guy, and Marcia is very headstrong and kind of full of herself and likes threatening violence. So very much like Kermit and Piggy. And a lot of the gags revolve around Marcia trying to make Ira her boyfriend. And Ira's all like, "Oh, wow, I don't know."
That was the first thing that I felt was that, right off the bat, these children are just uncomfortably horny.
Oh yeah, that's true. Man, Marcia, she is thirsty for the D. And she is not.
She wants the I. She wants that capital I.
She's just she is not gonna. She is in hot pursuit of Ira constantly, and
husband on the hoof.
Yeah, and Ira. So did we watch the one where the heartthrob ball?
Yes.
Okay.
Two of the 3 episodes we watched are about Marcia just basically doing all but sticking Ira with a branding iron to declare him hers.
So yeah, because that just it's a fertile ground for like jokes. So makes sense that would be a thing.
I guess so. It feels like a very fertile ground for jokes, 40 years ago, but that makes sense.
Yeah, well, it was 40 years ago.
Yes.
So, well,
I like Miss Peach herself. I wish she were more present in the show.
Yeah, she is likable.
The only one where she really makes any point in the plot is the mock wedding episode.
That's right, where they're having a picnic, and Francine decides that as part of the picnic, they're going to have a mock wedding, and Marcia volunteers herself and Ira to be mock married, and Ira is all like, I don't like this, so I'm going to do some wacky things to try and discourage this. And in the end, Miss Peach, she intervenes and basically says, I'll do the ceremony. And instead of doing the usual, you're now, married till death, she does like, do you take each other to be good friends? And Ira's like, oh, okay, I'm down with that. So I will say yes.
Yeah.
Which is kind of cute,
Yeah, it was. I mean, it was the closest this really came to being cute in some ways.
It's probably because that is the one point where I was like, yeah, that actually feels like something that kids would that feels more true to the spirit of children. That they would be like, yeah, but yeah, so that is the best part, I think. That episode also has the one joke that I really enjoyed in the series, which is when the principal says, I hate fun, which is great. I do actually...
Yeah, he says something like, we're going through with the picnic, but you're not allowed to have any fun while we're there. So.
Yes. I have to say, I do actually really like the principal in this.
Yeah, Principal Grimace. He's the best character.
He's amusing because, he's kind of a stock character. He's just a pompous, authority figure. But he's funny. He's amusing when he talks.
Oh, he is also a puppet, by the way.
Oh, that's right, yes.
Need to mention, Miss Peach is not a puppet, but Mr. Grimace is.
Now, Grimace, you probably think the audience is probably picturing a puppet like Grimace from McDonald's, but...
Daddy Ronald.
But he reminds me a lot more of... I don't know why. He reminds me of one of the bad guys in the Muppets Musicians of Bremen. He really looks like...
Yeah, you're right. He looks kind of like those, what are those guys' names? There was...
like Lard Pork or something, I
Lard
think?
Pork, that's the one that sticks with me, but I don't remember the other ones. There was the mean one, the fat one, the evil Jew, basically.
That's right. It was another time.
I mean... it was another time. I mean, he looks more bird-like than anything else, but there's a lot of Jewish coding to him.
Because he is the one with like the box of like gold coins, isn't he? If I remember correctly.
Yes.
Yeah, it's unfortunate. The Muppet Musicians of Bremen is problematic, you might say.
Yeah. I mean, I love Jim Henson. He was my hero as a kid, but sometimes he didn't fight as hard for good representation as we could have.
Yeah.
I mean, you look at the Muppet Show presentation of Oklahoma, where they did it as Yokohama instead.
Ooh.
That's not very good to look at.
Yeah, that sounds that's kind of bad. The one I remember is when the one incident of the Muppets that I remember not aging very well. Like, they're going to do some show, and Statler and Waldorf was like, what is it, a tap-dancing Chinese gorilla? And Kermit's like, cancel the opening number. And then a Chinese gorilla comes out and talks in Chinese, except it's not Chinese.
So it talks in Chinese in the same way the Swedish Chef talks in Swedish.
Yeah. But of course, I mean, it was like the early 80s. People were less woke then, so maybe we should hold them to the standards.
Of course, did you know the Swedish Chef is Japanese himself?
Is he really? Is this canon?
Yeah, he's only faking speaking Swedish.
Is this canon?
Yeah, once there was one where they said, "Is it true that you're not actually from Sweden?" And he kind of sadly nodded and started speaking fake Japanese instead.
Okay.
Which makes it all the weirder that there was that one Swedish Chef sketch where he was having an argument with a chocolate layer cake that spoke Japanese, and he had to actually consult his Japanese phrase book to find out what it was saying.
Why would a chocolate layer cake speak Japanese?
Japanese chocolate. Best in the world.
Is it really?
But, well, some of my favorite chocolate is the stuff I get from my local Japanese grocery store. Central Fish in downtown Fresno.
I didn't know that. We should contact them about a sponsorship. I did not know that Japanese chocolate was renowned.
Oh, I like it at least. But
well, yeah.
Oh, speaking of Muppets, some of the voices sound pretty similar to certain Muppets, don't they?
Yeah. Are there?
I especially noticed that Arthur sounds just like Beauregard from the Muppet Show.
Oh, he does. Is it the same guy?
No. That was what's his name? Oh, shoot. He's like the oldest Muppeteer that's still with them. Dave Goelz.
Oh, Gonzo.
Who's also Gonzo.
Yeah. I remember Gonzo. Okay. Yeah, Arthur does sound a lot like Beauregard, and he basically plays the same function on the show.
Yeah, he does. And Mr. Grimace, I was going to say, he sounds not like the original Waldorf as done by Jim Henson, but like the new Waldorf as presented in Muppet Christmas Carol and so on. He has this kind of voice.
Oh yeah, he does actually. So we looked at one episode, which is the spring dance episode. What were the other?
Yeah, the spring dance episode. The other two episodes? The other ones were the Valentine's Day episode. That was about that was the very stock Cyrano kind of plot,
right?
And it was the introduction of the character of Desdemona.
Yeah.
Whom Ira had a huge crush on her, and he wanted Arthur to go and ask her to the dance for him because he knew that if Marcia saw him asking her to the dance, she'd get creamed, possibly with a karate chop that would send his flailing body over to hit the red curtains.
Gee, where would that? Seems so familiar. I just can't quite place it. Yeah, but Desdemona,
and of course Arthur totally falls for Desdemona with her, oversexed, breathy voice.
Yeah, and her she's very beautiful in the sense that she looks exactly like every other child, but has more hair.
Do you think that's the joke?
Maybe. I mean, that seems...
Do you think they were thinking that far ahead?
I don't think they actually were. But it's probably good that they didn't, because it would be really weird if they actually tried to make her look all sexy, like the baby in Marvin.
Oh, yeah, you're right.
Like it's like, no, that's not good. It's just, just make her a kid with weird hair. That's fine.
Cut to the puppet locomotive going through the puppet tunnel.
Oh god, it's like a felt locomotive going into a
felt locomotive,
just going into like just squishing into like a felt tunnel. It seems like oh god, it's gonna become like a Brothers Quay thing.
That's even worse.
Oh yeah, so it is the usual thing. Everyone falls for Desdemona, and because it's the 70s. Arthur he tries to be cool to hit on her, and he basically does the kind of disco fever thing because he's got the suit and he's doing the dance where he points at things, and
you can tell it's from the era that gave us Witches' Night Out.
Oh yeah, it's not as good as Witches' Night Out.
Yeah,
it doesn't have,
but every holiday special had to have a disco dance at the time.
It was I mean it's the style of the time. It was very cutting edge.
Very few things are as good as Witches' Night Out, as far as I'm concerned. It's the definitive Halloween special outside of Halloween is Grinch Night.
Wait, say it again. Wait. Which Halloween special are you talking about?
Witches' Night Out. I think it's the definitive Halloween special.
Sorry, for some reason I was completely thinking of a different Halloween special that also, I believe, involved a disco dance, which was... the
Halloween that almost wasn't?
That's the one, yes.
Also known as The Night Dracula Saved the World.
That's right, where feminist witches decide Halloween should not be, but they are assuaged with a disco dance.
Yes, that one is terrible, but I loved it as a kid anyway.
Yeah.
And now you can get it on Riff Tracks, and I strongly recommend you do, because that is the best way to enjoy it.
Well, yeah, I believe that. So anyway, those are two of our episodes, and the third one we watched was... Did we watch the
third one was the Back to School episode.
That's right.
So... we get a brief look at the kids palling around together on their own time, not in school, and they're all kind of doom and gloom because school is starting again soon. And then Arthur comes out like, "Hey, little girl, close your hair, fix your makeup." And I don't think actually that wasn't really the song he was singing, but
it's of the time though.
Yes,
yeah, and he decides,
and he's excited because he's decided not to go to school.
And they're all like. Yeah, you have to go to school. What job are you going to have? I'll be a caveman.
Wow, they predated Calvin right there for a while.
But no, then Principal Grimace basically says, I'm going to give a big reward to anyone who can bring Arthur back to school. And so all the kids are trying to convince Arthur to come back to school. And the main thing that I want to point out about this episode is this is the episode where we see the turkey. And
yes! The turkey!
And
just it comes in out of nowhere!
Yes. It is a talking turkey that Arthur has a prior history with.
Turkey!
Yeah, they just...
Arthur!
And the weird thing is, this is referenced in multiple episodes. because when Arthur is praying in another episode, he's like, God bless Mom and Dad and Turkey. And it's like, okay. I actually also, just out of morbid curiosity, I checked out one of the other episodes, which happens to be the Thanksgiving episode. And I thought...
Is he in it?
He is in it. And I thought, this has got to be the introduction of Turkey. But it turns out in that one, Arthur still seems to know the turkey from prior events. So I have no clue where this turkey came from. But they loved it so much, they just put it in every episode.
Also, let us not forget, the turkey is voiced by Martin Short.
Oh, is he really?
Yes. It's the one, like, celebrity voice. I mean, celebrity by our definition voice.
Wow, I didn't realize that Martin Short was a thing in, like, the 70s. I guess he was, wasn't he?
Yeah, no, not WKRP. The other thing. The one that was like Saturday Night Live, but not.
Oh, you mean the Canadian thing? The
SCTV, yeah.
He was on that? Oh, I didn't know that.
Yes.
Huh.
Yeah, a lot of people who were big stars in the 80s were Rick Moranis, John Candy.
Oh, I knew Rick Moranis. I didn't realize John Candy was on it too. But okay, yeah. So wait a second. So okay, that's strange because Martin Short. Okay, first off, Martin Short, he doesn't really have a very distinctive voice. I don't think of him as a voice actor, and I did not recognize him at all. He did not sound like Martin Short when he was playing the turkey.
I recognized that it was a voice I should know, but I had to look up who it was.
I actually thought when I heard the turkey, I thought it was someone doing a very bad Paul Lynde impression.
Well, I guess you could say that that's what his Ed Grimley voice is.
Oh, it kind of is actually. So, yeah. Okay, so now the turkey makes sense because the turkey comes in when like Arthur decides he wants to be a veterinarian. And
yes, he set up his own veterinary practice in his bedroom.
Yeah, and the turkey comes in and says, "Oh, yes, I must be getting a veterinary checkup if I say so. Yes, I must." That's a really bad Ed Grimley impression.
I'm getting a veterinary checkup, I must
there
say.
You go. I was like, oh, it's like, and then the turkey is like looking at a big painting of Count Floyd or something. I don't know. I actually remember very little from Ed Grimley except his cartoon series.
Yes, The Completely Mental Misadventures of Ed Grimley.
Which, again, is a weird thing that they were like, you know what kids really want? They want a whole series based on this kind of obscure Saturday Night Live skit about a guy who just talks funny.
It was really weird going to Toys R Us and seeing dolls of Ed Grimley right next to dolls of Steve Urkel.
Wow. Can you know, it's amazing when you think about like all the research that toy companies do and put into like designing new products and appealing to children, and how many layers of meetings and executives these things go through. And then they're like, Ed Grimley. Yeah, that's going to be a big hit.
Well, to be fair, they actually had the real Martin Short there. He was recording new stuff. He was doing the voice and doing new Count Floyd bits and everything. You know, not like, say, Wish Kid, where you just had Macaulay Culkin for the first 5 seconds, and then you have a professional voice actor doing the kid's voice for the rest.
That's right. Okay,
rest of the thing.
But I'm going to also say this. I can't imagine that they were like, they went up to the executives like, okay, so the junior executive goes into the boardroom in front of the big cigar chomping boss and is like, I got a great show for you. It's Ed Grimley. Ed Grimley, kids gonna love it. And the boss is like, kids don't want no Ed Grimley. And he's like, okay, but listen to this. We got Martin Short himself to be in it. And then they're like, Martin Short, kids love Martin Short. Every kid wants to be Martin Short. You know, it's like it's like you mean the guy from Clifford? Yeah, we got to get him. Or I don't know what Martin Short was in at that point. Now that I think about it, Clifford might have.
I'll tell you. Here's something weird. You remember the Batman the Animated Series episodes with the Mad Hatter?
Yes.
He looked just like Martin Short to me. I always thought, hey, they should get Martin Short to be the Mad Hatter in the movies.
Oh yeah, that's right. He did look like Martin Short. He's never been in a movie, has he?
No, actually, there was almost a 5th movie in the original series, which was going to be about the Mad Hatter and Harley Quinn.
Okay.
It was going to be called Batman Triumphant.
But that would... Okay, wait a second here. But that doesn't work because... Well, first of all, why would Harley Quinn be hanging out with the Mad Hatter?
Well... The implication was it was going to be about mind control, and the idea was that he was controlling her to be a new Joker in a way. I think. I mean, I never really read I'm not sure how much of this is based on what I read and how much is just based on my speculation on how you would make it work for the last 20 years.
Yeah. Well, also, the rule of the original Batman series was every movie had to have another, like an extra villain. So,
yes.
So by the time they got to that one, they needed at least 5 villains because...
Yeah, they talked about actually having Jack come back to do a dream sequence as the Joker, but again, movie didn't get made.
Yeah, who would they have as Harley Quinn? I'm curious.
Good question. In 98?
Yeah,
or
who was big at that point?
Or 2000? Halle Berry.
Oh, well, she's already playing Catwoman.
No.
So that is gosh, we've been at this for almost an hour. So is there anything?
Yes.
What else should we say about Miss Peach and of the Kelly School?
Yeah, the turkey and the mouse and the lovebirds.
Oh yeah, wow. Okay.
We didn't even mention the lovebirds in the Valentine's Day episode. There's this plot where the principal is making a gift of his pet lovebirds to the school, and they look just like him and his wife, and they're always nagging each other. So it's like, ha, marriage is hell. But
again, Borscht Belt
and
comedy.
The plot goes nowhere because they just give the lovebirds back to him at the end.
Oh yeah, that's right. It's like, it's kind of amusing because they're lovebirds, but they fight. But then, yeah, that kind of ends. And yeah, there's the mouse, which appears in the episode with Arthur dropping out of school, and
yes.
The mouse is in the coat room and just kind of says, "Hey, Arthur, the kids really like you here. You should come back to school." And Arthur's like,
"Yeah, that was the point. Was that Miss Peach convinced Arthur to hide in the cloakroom, and listen to all the kids say how much they would miss him." Which is again another such a stock plot. I can't even remember where I saw it first.
Yeah, that's basically one step up from the everyone forgot my birthday. Oh no, it's just a surprise party plot line.
Yeah. Let's see. The two funniest parts of this one were when the principal says that he's going to offer a large reward to bring Arthur back to school, and everyone's speculating on what it's going to be, and Desdemona just goes on this absolute fantasy about being, he's going to have the king of France sweep me away and be driven by an 8-horse coach to our beautiful apartment in downtown Switzerland.
That was pretty neat.
That was funny, yes. And then it turns out that the rat is the one that gets Arthur to come back, so he gets the reward, which is to listen to the principal's life story.
It's like, it's funny because the principal is, pompous.
A long-winded buffoon, yes.
Yeah. So there's, honestly, I don't know. How do you feel about this series? Do you think would you say that it's worth greenlighting and making into a full series?
I'm kind of sorry I suggested it for the podcast alone. This is pretty rough going.
So I'm guessing no. That's
I think you could make it work. The basic concept of live teacher and puppet kids has merit, but I would want to divest it more from the basic formula of the comic strip. I would want to give them more stuff to do outside of the school concept. And maybe I don't know, maybe it would work better if we leaned more into the Muppet Show comparisons. Oh, the last Muppet Show comparison is that the credits are exactly like the Muppet Show.
Oh yeah, they really are. I didn't notice that.
Yeah, the credits are what really reminded me of the Muppet Show. But yeah, if instead of it being having one plot, if you had multiple kind of sketches that weren't necessarily related, and then you sandwiched, the very thin plot that they had going on into just smaller sketches in between, that might work out better.
Yeah. No, I can see that. That would actually be pretty entertaining. I will say that I did not hate this.
Yeah, I mean, I had fond enough memories of it to suggest it in the first place.
Yeah.
So
I actually did find it a little bit charming. I didn't have any belly laughs while watching it, but there was this thing where when watching Miss Peach interact with these puppets, there was a little bit of charm there. I think that Miss Peach the actress, I forget her name. I don't know if I've ever seen her in anything else.
Deborah Grover. She doesn't even have a Wikipedia page.
Wow. So apparently this might be her only performance.
Wow.
But, I thought she was pretty good. She really kind of sold it. She seemed to really have some... She seemed like, for this show to work, Miss Peach has to be kind of the heart, of the show. And I did get that feeling from her. I felt like she had a lot of genuine concern for her puppet charges.
Yes. I mean, if nothing else, she sold being a teacher. She felt like a teacher to me.
Yeah. And,
if there's any real poison pill here, it's that school itself is just such a prison for kids that why would they want to watch a show about it?
Yeah. That's true. I mean, if you're going to do a show in school, I feel like it, for kids, it has to be a lot wackier than this.
Yeah.
The only thing I can think of that was set in a school that I was like, yeah, this is great. I like this is Wayside School. And
yeah, and not the cartoon, the original
books. The books are great. The cartoon kind of sucks, but
yeah,
what are you gonna do?
What a disappointment.
Yeah, I mean, but as a kid, I remember reading the Wayside books and just being blown away. Like, you can write this? This could be a thing?
Yes,
you're allowed to make fun of school like this? Oh my!
That's the kind of thing that gets kids excited to read, and which gets them excited to write.
Yeah,
and that leads to immortality in its own way. That's the kind of thing that gets me excited, as being the hungry reader and all.
Yeah, absolutely. And I wouldn't say that Miss Peach captures that, but
no.
it's a cute diversion for 5 episodes. I don't know that I'd be able to watch a whole series of this though.
Well, actually, speaking of Wayside, that was a Nickelodeon show.
Yes.
And Nickelodeon is where I first saw Miss Peach.
Really? Was this on Special Delivery or something?
Yes.
Really?
And that was exactly why I wanted to talk about it, because I wanted to bring up Special Delivery, and I loved Special Delivery.
I can't believe it. Was it like all 5 jammed together?
At least maybe it was 3 or 4. I don't remember the specific episodes that much. It might have just been 1 episode for all I know.
I feel like they probably would have done like when they did the Heathcliff the movie, where they just jammed a bunch of episodes together.
Yeah, probably.
That's so funny. I didn't realize.
Now I'm looking at the Wikipedia for Special Delivery and all the stuff that they've got the original air dates for, and it's some things that I've never heard of. There's some concerts here, and there's your favorite movie, Raggedy Ann and Andy: A Musical Adventure.
No, bad. Cursed object. Yeah.
And Raggedy Ann and Andy and the Pumpkin Who Couldn't Smile.
That one's good, actually.
Yeah, I like that.
That's the Chuck Jones one.
And Really Rosie. I remember that.
What's that one?
Really Rosie is a Maurice Sendak play that got an animated adaptation.
I have not heard of this one.
Yeah, it compiles several of his small books, which are usually put together in something that's called the Nutshell Library.
Okay.
And yeah, there's a bunch of kids who live in this these brownstone tenements all get together and they put on a show. And one of them, the oldest one, dresses up all fancy and declares herself Really Rosie. And,
oh wait, this does sound familiar. Actually, I might have seen this.
Yes, and one of the kids is an alligator, just because things are there's alligators in the sewers. I guess.
Do remember? Actually, yes, that sounds familiar. Yes. Do they have the little fox on there?
The little fox, yes, that's right there.
Remember that one?
Yeah, Vuk.
The greatest animation that ever came out of Hungary.
Were you there?
Well, yeah. I would know. Excuse me, Ethan. I think I know a little bit about the history of Hungarian animation.
Well, I don't know. I mean, you've lived all over the world.
Actually, no. I know.
You might have spent some time in Hungary.
I honestly know nothing about Hungary, and I actually have not been there. But
wait. No, you know what the greatest Hungarian animation is?
Hugo the Hippo, of course.
Yes, Hugo!
I forgot all about that one. Yes, that actually Hugo is the best Hungarian animation. Little Fox is just bumped down to second best.
Yes.
But yeah, Hugo the Hippo is just amazing, because when I look at that, the way animation is kind of developed in the world, I feel like everything has in one way or another kind of been influenced by Disney or anime, or how everything is kind of in one of those two schools nowadays. But it's really interesting to see Hugo the Hippo and think about the third way this animation that was developing in the Eastern Bloc, and how completely different it was from anything that we experienced here in the U.S.
By now, I'm sure you've seen the other Russian version of Treasure Planet.
Oh, I've seen the clips. I've seen
you see the whole movie, and it just blows you away.
I've seen the memes. I haven't actually watched the whole thing, but I still need to check that out, because I'm very curious about that. The only Russian animation I've seen is like very short, like propaganda cartoons, where you watch it and you're like, actually, they're right. Communism is great. I like this. They were correct.
Worker and Parasite.
Yeah. I remember because there's the one where it's like there's a dog that inherits like a lot of money, and he starts wearing a top hat and acting like a robber baron capitalist, and it's like, this cartoon is great. And there's a scene in the end where the bulldog is just dancing while wearing a top hat and tails, like a capitalist banker pig, and I'm watching it and being
how they dance.
Yeah, it's just how like they dance, and there's watching it and being like, that's right. Capitalism is bad, and I agree with this cartoon, but it is right, actually. But it's fun because I always wanted to get like an anime gift for that dancing dog and just like be like, yeah.
I have to see this cartoon.
I think it's called. Oh God, what is it called? I don't remember what it's called anymore. That was another tangent going on about other things. So I guess we should probably put a bow on this. Is there anything else we should say about Miss Peach?
Well, let's promise to do something more interesting next time.
Oh, I will say one other thing I did want to say, though. The fact that it's called Miss Peach of the Kelly School really confuses me, because I know it's a tribute to like Walt Kelly of Pogo.
Yes.
But every time I hear it, I think like not like a schoolhouse, but like an artistic school, like a school of a movement. So when she says Miss Peach of the Kelly School, I'm like, oh, what does she draw? What does she paint? Oh, okay. So that keeps confusing me every time I hear it.
Miss Peach of the Kelly School of Thought.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, oh, she's a philosopher. Interesting.
Kant, Sartre, Peach.
Anyway, so before we go, Ethan, anything that you want to plug?
Oh, let's talk about once again, you can check out my my other work, or maybe you're watching this right now at thehungryreader.com, where you can see my videos and many other such things. And don't forget to check out my my amazing science fiction novel, Joy Traveler, linked in the description.
And again, you can find me at guttersnipecomic.com. And I should mention that my new graphic novel, Firebrat, has just dropped and is available on Amazon, or any place where quality books can be purchased on the internet, which means Amazon.
I got my copy. It's fantastic.
Well, thank you. I'm sure the check's in the mail. Buy my book.